Hi there guys, my name's John from ActiveJR.com, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the Vivosport from Garmin. Now I've had this fitness tracker for about a month now and I've been wearing it every day. I've been using it for a variety of different activities from running, cycling and everyday fitness activities. So hopefully this video will give you my impressions and my experience of using it based on the heart rate monitor, the GPS that's built in and all of the other things that come with the fitness tracker. Now before we get started, if you decide you want to buy a Vivosport, there's links in the description below that take you to Amazon. Now these links do earn ActiveJR a small commission and that helps me continue to make these videos. However, the review you'll see today is based on my experience, so I'll be honest and I'll give you the information as I see it from using the product. And now putting those links in the description below does not influence me giving this product a good review or a bad review. And also if you've got a comment or a question that's maybe not answered in this video, please leave it in the comments below because I will get back to you. And also if you like this channel, please give it a subscribe as it's really appreciated. And finally, there is a more in-depth review on my website, so if you want to check that out, it's in the description below, and there's also other information and other reviews on there as well. So thanks very much. Let's get straight into the video. Okay, so starting with some of the specs, it's got built-in GPS and it's got a wrist-based heart rate monitor. It also can estimate your VO2 max. It's also got Garmin's fitness age. In terms of activity tracking, it tracks things like steps, calories burnt, distance traveled, and all the usual things you would expect. Along with that, it also tracks sports like running, walking, cycling, and also cardio. It also has got something called strength tracking, which counts your reps when you're working out, and I'll talk more about that in this video. Starting with the design, the tracker is claimed to be one of Garmin's smallest fitness trackers, and it's similar looking to the Vivo Smart 3. Now, in terms of material, it's made of a polymer material, and for the band, it's silicone with a metal buckle. On the front, it's got a colour display, which is a touchscreen, and on the back, it's got Garmin's Elevate heart rate monitor along with the charging port. Now, wearing this band all day, I find it pretty comfortable, and I've not felt like I wanted to take it off always. However, sometimes when I was working out and it got sweaty, sometimes it got irritable and I wanted to take it off. My other complaint with the wearability of the tracker, sometimes when you fold your arms, it activates the screen. You can then start to go into some of the menus. Now this is not a massive issue because you can simply swipe back, or you can also lock the screen as well to stop it from doing this. But it's one of those things, for the first week of wearing it, I noticed it was doing it. And then after a week, I figured out what to do, and that was locking the screen. Okay, so moving on to the screen and the menus. So the screen, as I've already said, is a touch screen. It's got a colour display. Now I found it really easy to use. Found it a lot more easy than the Vivo Smart, which sometimes it was a little abrasive when I was touching the screen. Now in terms of the menus, when you swipe up or down, it will show you your steps, calories burnt, distance travel, and all the usual stuff you get with a Garmin product. And then in order to activate the more deeper menus, you need to slightly touch down, and that will take you to things like the activity tracking and also the settings and VO2 max menus. Now overall, I think the screen's pretty good. It works well in direct sunlight, but the only thing I do want to point out, the menus are very simple and there's not a lot you can customize on the tracker. You do have to rely on the companion app to change things like watch faces or some of the other settings. So if you're wanting something that is simple to use and has got simple menus, then this is a great choice. So moving on to activity tracking, the Vivosport tracks things like steps, calories burnt, distance traveled, and all the usual things. It also calculates your resting heart rate and your heart rate at a particular time. And I found the accuracy of the steps and distance traveled and all the other things pretty much in line with my normal fitness tracker. Now the resting heart rate was a little bit high for the first week or so of use. However, it starts to settle down as it starts to get more information. The Garmin Vivosport also does sleep tracking, and I found again this pretty accurate. It was recording at times when I was falling asleep and at times when I was waking up in the morning. Now in terms of the bits in the middle, as I've already said in all of my reviews, I'm not sure if the deep sleep or the when I was light sleeping is accurate, because you can't really tell. So overall, sleep tracking in that regard, but I think you still have to take this type of technology with a pinch of salt. The Vivosport also comes with stress tracking. Now, this was first introduced with the Vivo Smart 3. Now, the stress tracking on the Fenix 5, I found it pretty good, and when I've been comparing it to the Vivosport, it's been pretty comparable in terms of catching the high stress periods or when I've been resting. And when I've looked at the profile throughout the day, I've been able to identify things that I've been doing, and it's been capturing everything. So in terms of stress tracking, it does this really well. However, again, it's another technology that I'm still not decided on whether it adds any real value to your overall fitness. Now, moving on to the fitness tracking features, it tracks things like running, walking, cycling, cardio and strength. Now, the activities such as walking and running have got an outdoor and an indoor option when you go through and activate them. Now, activating them is pretty simple. All you need to do is scroll to the activity menu and then select the activity you want to do. Now, if it is outdoor, then you click outdoor and it locks on the GPS, and then you double tap to start. And then you can scroll through the various different data menus whilst you're working out. Now, these data menus can be customized in the Garmin Connect app, and you can have up to 5 screens and 2 data fields on each. Now, one of the things I did notice is that the cycling has only got an outdoor option. You haven't got an indoor option. So if you're wanting to use it for indoor cycling, such as spinning or on the training bike, so you have to use the cardio mode and then rename it back in the Garmin Connect app, which I think is a bit of a mess around. However, I can see why Garmin have done that, but at the same time, it wouldn't have taken them much to be able to put an outdoor and an indoor mode on the profile. The Vivo Smart 3's also got strength training. Now, this was again first introduced with the Vivo Smart 3 and rolled out to the Fenix 5 and Forerunner 935. Now, when I first used it on the Vivo Smart 3, I wasn't overly impressed. It didn't always catch the reps. It didn't always calculate correctly. And now, in terms of the Vivo Sport, I think it has got better than the Vivo Smart 3 in terms of counting the reps, and I found with things like dumbbell curls and things that are pretty simple exercises, it caught them really well and it able to calculate and count the reps correctly. When it came to things like squats or sit-ups, it sometimes didn't count them, so you had to manually then go and edit them in the Garmin Connect app. Now, the Vivo Smart 3 also does VO2 Max, and this is based on a number of exercises you put through the Vivo Sport, and it calculates your VO2 Max. Now, I found this to be pretty comparable to my normal everyday tracker, which is a Fenix 5, and it calculated the VO2 Max pretty well, but it only did so after about 5 uses, so it does take that little bit of time to get the information. Now, it only calculates VO2 Max for running and walking exercises. It won't count it for cycling because you can't connect the Vivosport to a power meter. So in terms of GPS performance, just a couple of things before I go into what happened in the GPS activities. When I first used it for the first couple of times, it seemed to take up to 2 to 3 minutes to lock on to a GPS signal. I wasn't sure why it was doing this, whether it was a faulty device or whether it's simply because of the area I was in. However, I tried it in a number of different areas and it did the same thing. However, I found when I synced more often with my smartphone, it grabbed a signal within about 10 seconds. And I've done a bit of research, and I think this is mainly down to it needs to download GPS lock information in order to lock quicker. So if you do decide to buy one of these, just make sure you sync it with your smartphone a little bit more often than I was at that particular time. Now, I use the device for running and cycling, and in terms of running, it performed really well. I use a TomTom Adventurer and a Fenix 5, and overall the performance of the GPS was accurate enough for me. The results are coming on the screen now. Everyone's different, however, it all depends on how accurate you want it to be. I also used it for cycling and got similar results as well, and again, it's within the tolerances that I would normally expect accept. But again, a quick caveat, it's all down to personal preference, and you need to decide whether these tolerances are on the screen now are something you're willing to accept. Now, moving on to the heart rate monitoring, the wrist-based heart rate monitor is split into two categories. First of all, I'm going to tackle the 24/7 daily monitoring. It tracks your heart rate 24/7, or when you're wearing the device. It also takes your resting heart rate in the morning when you're resting. So for that, it's performed really well. The resting heart rate is pretty comparable with what I'm normally getting on my fitness tracker at the moment. But let's just move on to the fitness side, and let me talk through what I found using the Vivosport. So first of all, using it for running. Now, I compared it to a chest strap only. I didn't use it alongside any other wrist-based heart rate monitor, and for running, it stayed pretty much in line with the chest strap, and it's pretty good for running. I found no particular issues. However, when I used it for cycling, it didn't perform well at all. When I was putting a lot of effort in, moving around on the handlebars, it didn't seem to perform. It didn't seem to catch the heart rate. So at one point, the chest strap was recording about a 165, and the Vivosport was only recording a heart rate of around about 95. So that's considerably different. So as well, it wasn't catching the recoveries, and it wasn't also catching the peaks and the quick spikes in heart rate. And when I was using it for strength training, just like any wrist-based heart rate monitor, it didn't perform really well. Now, so overall, the heart rate monitor is good for walking, for running activities. However, when it comes to anything to do with the wrist, it did really fall down. And for cycling, I didn't find it useful at all. Now, moving on to the smart features. In terms of smart features, it does call and text alerts. You obviously can't respond to the calls or the texts on your wrist, and they just come through with a notification. It's also got a companion app called Garmin Connect Mobile. Now, I rate this app. I think it's pretty good. It does give you a lot of information. You can use it to look at your information post-workout, and especially when you're strength training, you can also edit the reps and weights and the actual exercise you were doing within the app. So overall, it's a pretty good app. Works on Windows Mobile, Android and iOS, and it's available in all them app stores. Moving on to the battery life, Garmin quote about 7 days battery life, and I'm finding I'm getting about 3 to 4, maybe 5 days of battery life. And this is using it pretty extensive. This is using it working out every day and wearing it 24/7 more or less. So overall, a pretty good battery life. Still not better than some of the others out there. However, given it's got GPS and a colour screen, it's not doing bad comparing that to, say, a Fitbit. Now, charging the device takes about 1.5 hours, and I've already said it uses Garmin's proprietary cable, which is featured on the Phoenix 5 and the Forerunner series. Starting with things that I did like, it's got a great menu. It's very simple and easy to use. So for those people that are wanting a simple and easy to use menu, then it's a great tracker for them. The screen is readable. It's great in direct sunlight, and it works really well. It's also got solid GPS performance, even though it did take a little bit of time sometimes to lock on GPS signal. Now, things I didn't like, I think the battery life could be better. I think Garmin could improve that. It's got really shaky wrist-based HR performance, especially when cycling or anything moving the wrist. And one of the other things as well, you can't swap the bands out, and you can do that with a lot of other fitness trackers at this price point, and this may be a barrier to purchase for some people because you can't customize it and you're stuck with the color once you've purchased it. Okay, so overall, it's a pretty good fitness tracker. I think it's got some solid features. Now, the big question is this fitness tracker right for you? I think it's all down to a personal preference. I think you've got to decide whether you want a simple fitness tracker that's got a solid brand behind it, and it does all the things like step tracking and basic fitness tracking. Then this is a great choice for you. Would I buy this fitness tracker? Probably wouldn't buy it for myself. However, if someone was wanting a simple fitness tracker that did all the basics and did it well, apart from the wrist-based HR for cycling, which you would expect with a lot of wrist-based HR monitors, I would buy it for somebody. Probably there is other choices out there, such as the Fitbit Ultra HR, or maybe the Charge 2 at a similar price point. So there are other things to consider as well. Okay guys, thanks for watching this video. If you've got a comment or a question, leave it in the comment section below because I will get back to you. And also if you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this channel, please give it a subscribe as it's really appreciated. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you all soon.